Hey guys, welcome back to the Hat House. Appreciate you tuning back in. And today's sales video is jam-packed. We've got several things up for you. One, how did we crush the competition this weekend? Because we had a really great weekend with 104 sales going out, and we're going to show you what we did. The second was, how do you get a signature off of a hat? We're going to kind of tell you our method of getting signatures off of a hat. We sold a hat that we cleaned the signature off of, and it went pretty well. And the last one is we had a great sale to a viewer that's going out. They spent $100 on 3 hats. We really appreciate you guys. And I'm also going to show you some of the other great hats that are going out right now. A lot of sports hats sold really well this weekend. People are getting their Christmas gifts, already getting prepared. So let's dive into the video and get out to the garage and see what sold. Good morning, guys. It was a really busy weekend. We had a lot of picking to do. We had about 104 orders that we got done. And how long do you think it took us?
About 30 minutes. I'm pretty sure I picked twice as much as he did.
Well, that's a debate for another time. But we're going to be really busy today. We've got probably 50 to 60 of those are hats, and then we got clothing going out. And then I always got to thank you guys because there's several orders from our watchers in here. Really appreciate that. If you ever do order something from us, remember, let me know in the comments at checkout so I can make sure and get you a sticker sent out. So let's get to packing. All right, first up in this big lot, this is a Black Dog USA regular dad hat. And let's talk about how we did crush the competition. It was really just price. We still have the 50% off sale going on. It is doing awesome. I will tell you that I turned the best offers back on because that really did make a difference. If somebody just wanted a few cents off to make it an even dollar, okay. But I didn't take many offers below, but just pricing it even lower helped just move the hats. So I was a little above market on several things, and the sale really brings it down to the market. And then with the best offer, if they offered me $1 or $2 on a hat, I just declined it or sent back. And if I had it priced for like $10.50, I just sent them back $10 like that. But the sale has really helped, and yeah, putting the best offer on helped. This one went out for like $9.44. All right, next up was this red head visor. It went out for $7.44. And if you're not familiar with our store, everything does have a shipping charge on top. All hats go out for like $5.95. If it's a beanie, we usually price it at $4.95 on the shipping. And our clothing that we sell all has $6.95 shipping. So you can include that in all the sales prices. Next up was this Oregon Nike hat. It was just a flex fit Oregon Nike. It was a little faded, a nice fade. It went out for $12.44. It was a little bit older too. Had the Nike team logo on it. Next up was Union Redskins. This is actually a local high school team here in Tulsa. It was a really nice hat. It was a champion. I don't think they're called the Redskins anymore either. I think they've done away with that. But this one went out for $10. Nice champion high school team. Next up was this nice Sprinkles all natural sugar. Went out for $14.44. It was a beautiful vintage hat. It was super clean inside, had a nice curve on it if you prefer your hats with the curve. It was K Products as well. Really nice, vintage, nice embroidery on it too. Beautiful hat. Next up was a Navy hat, just said Navy on it. Went out for like $7. Regular strap back. I don't think it'd ever been worn. It was super clean. Next up was a Miami, Ohio. This was a perfect fit franchise, perfect fitted. Size small, went out for $12.44. Size small is kind of tough to sell sometimes, but these franchise perfect fitted usually do pretty well. Next up, they got a great deal on this one. This was a LM Chemical. It just had a beautiful deer embroidery on it, vintage. It was on the Legend snap. Looked like it never been worn. Nice trucker hat. Next up was this Mitchell & Ness Houston Oilers. It went out for like $14.50. And I didn't budge on this one. They kept sending me $10. But Houston Oilers will sell. Actually, probably closer to you could wait on $20 for this hat probably, even though it's newer Michelin Ness. Just the Houston Oilers, there's not a whole lot of that out there, and you can usually wait on a better price for this one. Next up was a Grace Foley. Not very familiar with this brand, but this went out for $12. It had a nice patch on it, had a really nice, like a beach sunset mesh back on it, and it was super clean. I think this brand does sell for like 15 to 20 though. It's a pretty decent hat brand. Next up we had our first combined order. It was 2 Oregon State Beaver hats. This one was a Zephyr Flex Fitted, and this one was a Nike Flex Fitted. Both of them going out for around $25. Next up was this really cool Chicago Bears starter hat. It went out for like $15. It was on the natural starter tag, and it was 100% wool. So really cool vintage Bears hat. Went out for $15. Next up was this Chevy Truck Legends. Had a nice big patch on it. It was on the Chevy Truck Legends tag. Never seen it before, but it did say made in USA. This went out for like $10. Nice Chevy hat. Next up was the Phoenix Suns. Went out for $7, and this was on the New Era, but it had the Velcro strap back, kind of like I talk about. You can expect to get a little bit less for those. It was a cool hat, being black and the nice flames and Phoenix on it, but just $7. Next, we had a combined order. Went out for like $30 plus shipping. We had a Carhartt hat, snapback Carhartt hat. We had a Bass Pro hat. This one wasn't mesh back, so it's a little different. And then a Brixton snapback. All 3 of those went out for $30. Next up was another Oregon State Beavers. Great weekend for the Beavers, even though they lost, so I sold a lot of their hats. This one out for like $7 or $8. It was a Zephyr wool flex fitted. Next up was a vintage funny beer hat. 5 good reasons why beer is better than women. Nice snapback vintage trucker hat. There's a tag on that one. See, even though it says made in China, you can still tell that this is a vintage hat. Really, because of the way the paper tag is, and it's on Capsmith. Next up was this vintage Oak Hill Country Club visor. I'm really surprised it sold for $8. I didn't think we would get that for it. I don't even know really why I listed it. Usually these don't bring too much, but I'll take $8. Next up was a pink Victoria's Secret women's hat. Just a regular, this is kind of a minty blue. I don't know what color you would call it, but it was a little different with the strap on the back here. Went out for $8. Next up was Baltimore Ravens. This was kids, 3930 Super Bowl champions. Still a really cool hat. Just kind of small, so it went out for $9. Next up was another kids hat. Toy Story 4 went out for like $8. Kids hats are selling, maybe for presents. Haven't really thought of that because there's quite a few in this bunch, a lot more than usual. Next up was this Bryce Canyon National Park dad hat with the blue. I don't think that's a blue jay. He has some sort of mohawk on. If you know what kind of bird that is, let me know. But this one went out for like $10. It was on this Echo tag. It usually does okay for $10. Next up was another Oregon State Beavers. They really thought they were going to win this weekend. It went out for $9.44. They are a good team, but they just couldn't quite beat Washington. Next up was this Columbia PFG. It went out for $12. It was like brand new. It still had the tags on it, super clean. It had this one blemish on the bill right here, and is why I just took the $12. Still a really cool hat. If that didn't bother you, you got a great deal. Next up was an Adidas lightweight, like golf tennis running hat. Went out for like $8. Super clean. And then a Columbia lightweight running hat went out for $9.50. It was in good shape too. Next up was a Nike hat. Just had the spell out and the swoosh on it. Went out for around $10. Gray with the black swoosh. Just a regular dad hat. Next up was a really good sale. This is why you always got to look up the rock bands. This was Gorillaz. It was probably a little newer. I don't think I labeled it even as vintage. There's really not much Gorilla stuff out there, so if you ever find it, make sure you price it up. This one went for like $34. Next up was a Smoking Joe Biden hat. It went out for like $9.50. Nice, beautiful shape. It was super clean, and it was still really crispy. This was probably like new. Joe Biden spell out on the back. Next up was this wool Madewell hat. This went out for like $10. Strap back Madewell. Next up was a Raiders hat. Went out for like $9. It was a combined order with the t-shirt in our store. I think this t-shirt went for $10. It was a Duluth trading t-shirt. And another Oregon State Beavers went out for $9. This was cool, kind of heather striped. Wasn't on a very good brand either. Captivating, I think that's a Walmart brand. It was a cool hat though. Next up was a Keith Urban hat. This was a strap back, and it said "Raise 'em up" on the back. I assume that's one of his tours. Went out for like $10. Next up was a cool, this is Lenny Dykstra, number 4. Good, went out for like $18. It's a really beautiful condition. Some of the player hats, they can do pretty well. This was on the AJD tag. Really great shape, $18. Next up was a USC Trojans. I'm so glad this sold. It went for like $44. I didn't think anybody would buy any USC Trojan stuff till maybe next year, but it was super cool. This has kind of the wrap on it and the spell out all the way along the top. This one's made by Twins Enterprise. This style hat usually goes for $30 to $50 if you can find this style, Twins Enterprise. Really cool hat. Really nice embroidery and wrap. Next up was a Corona Got Lime. This went out for around $10. It went international too. Had a nice patch on it. It's a pretty cool Corona hat as far as Corona hats go. Had a Velcro strap back. Next up was a nice vintage trucker with the big patch on it. In-serve Dow Chemicals. Super clean on the inside. Had been cleaned out. And it was on the K brand, K product tag as well. Nice denim trucker with the big patch. Did I say $25? Not sure if I did. Next up was this Rudy project. It went out for $9.44. It was pretty cool. Had Hawaii on the bill. Had a nice Hawaiian flower on it. Not exactly sure what Rudy project is. It just looks kind of racing. I don't know. That looks like a, maybe, I don't know. I'm going to guess racing. If you guys know, let me know. Next up was a nice Vans 5-panel hat. Had the had ducks, mallards all over it. Strap back Vans, 5-panel. Sold super quick. Probably in a couple of days. $12. Next up with this Hi-Fi Vision. It went out for $12. It was a really cool vintage hat. You can see it's a made in USA. Actually, this one's not vintage. I hope I didn't label it as vintage. Because even though it's made in USA, you can tell with this sewn in tag right here that this isn't vintage. But it is still a pretty well-made hat. It looked new. The strap has no wear on it. So it went out for like $12. Next up was this Toon Boys. Call this pinwheel. It kind of has this pinwheel design on it. The color scheme, color block pinwheel. It really had a cool back hit too. But had bugs and Taz on it. The Toon Boys snapback. Went out for $12. Next up was a Brooklyn Nets Mitchell and Ness. Went out for $10. Super clean. A little different color. Had the script on it. But $10. That's all you get for NBA hats. All right. Next up was a Kangol. Went out for $12.44. This was size extra large. Nice Kangol flat cap. Next up was a nice New Era Seattle Supersonics, size 7 3/4. This one did have a little damage on the button. You can see right there. Still went out for $17. Nice Seattle Supersonics. This one feels wool. Yeah, it's 100% wool too. So they got a good deal on that. And another Seattle Supersonics. This one went for $14. It was Mitchell and Ness. Pretty clean, like new. They got a good deal on it too. Mitchell and Ness 14. And the Chicago Cubs, vintage Chicago Cubs, went out for $13.76, almost $14. One thing I have learned is if you can do whatever you can not to get this type wet. And they have this tag on it in New Era. It really wrinkles the front pretty badly and brings down the price. If this would have been in great shape, would have been 20 plus. We took $14. Mainly because of the wrinkles that we have in the front here. So don't get these wet. This one was a good size too, 7 5/8. Next up, we had Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Went out for $9. Large, extra large, nice Reebok hat. After that, we had a Nashville Predators. This was had Winter Classic on the side. Went out for $12. 47 brand. Strap back dad hat. Next up, we had a combined order. We had a Miami Hurricanes flex fitted New Era hat and a Miami Hurricanes beanie. I think these went out for around $20 together. So they got a great deal. Got a beanie and a hat. Next up was a Costa hat. It went out for like $9. If you haven't caught the theme here, 7, 9, 12. 7, 9, and 12. Hats selling at that price. Really gets the velocity on them. Of course, I wouldn't recommend that you ever mark a very rare hat to 7, 9, or 12, but the basic hats are really moving at 7, 9, and $12. Just kind of depending on how cool they are. This is just a regular Costa Flex Fit hat. Went out for $9. And next up was Florida Gators. They went out for $12, and this one was just a little different and kind of cool. I don't know what the A was for. This is a 47 brand. I don't know what A on the Gators meant. If anybody is, maybe Florida native knows. Let me know, Florida native, if you know why there's an A on the Florida Gators hat.
International.
Next up was another international sale. This one went out for $12.48. Cool 5-panel, multicolor, bright 90s looking colors on the universal patch. Went out for $12. Super clean. Next up was Alabama Crimson Tide. Went out for $9.50. Just a regular dad hat, strap back. This one had 205. I think that's their area code. If any Alabamas can confirm. Next up was a Notre Dame dad hat. Went out for $9.48, $9.50 as well. Strap back, casual, regular Notre Dame hat. Next up was a Life is Good hat. Just had the tennis player on it, so it made it a little different. Went out for $7. And we had a vintage propeller hat that went out on Depop for like $21. It was the flex fitted, cool propeller. The propeller hat sales are taking off. I don't know. Mary liked that joke. There you go. Last up was a Poshmark order. There's a lot of these Neil Diamond hats out there on eBay. So I'm glad I put it on Poshmark. I think it was like, I got like $17 for it. They were priced anywhere from 10 to 30. So I'll take the 17 on Poshmark for a Neil Diamond on tour. I'm sure that's somebody's Christmas gift. What does Neil Diamond sing? Is he Sweet Caroline? Sweet. I can't sing it or I'll get like a copyright, and I can't sing. So maybe Mary will sing it for us.
Absolutely not.
All right, let's go over to Sweet Caroline and see what her question is for today. Surprise question at that.
Okay, our question comes from Liz. It's, how long did it take for your eBay store to get traction? How many listings did you start doing per day to really see momentum?
Great question. When we first started, was it 2019?
I think so, yeah.
2019, when we were going to garage sales and stuff, it really didn't take long, and that's because we were just picking out great stuff. Back then, it was just awesome printer cartridges that sold like that overnight, and things like that. So it really depends on the items that you're listing. I mean, if I have 100 hats, it's some of them are going to take a minute to sell because they're just not sometimes the most desirable hat. Just a regular Kansas City Chiefs hat can sit there for a couple of months. But if you're going out and if you're looking at the items that I have selling for 20, 30, 40, $50 if you're trying to cherry pick those items, and it really doesn't take much traction. And I would say just try to start picking out the very best things that you see and start listing those. I wouldn't recommend necessarily going out and starting by just picking up a bunch of Nike t-shirts and then trying to list all those, because one, they will sit for a while unless they're a really awesome style. And two, you probably won't get the price that you were really wanting when somebody does come along and offer you. So look for those great items. Look for the really good ones that we show here, or the similar type items, and then they will sell and you'll get traction really fast. It just depends on what you're listing. All right, guys, let's see what's going on in this bunch right here. There's some pretty cool winter hats in here, and we really got to be on the lookout for when we need to price some of those up. So let's check them out. First up was a combined Disney order. We had a Disney visor that went out and a Disney Magic Kingdom hat that went out, strap back hat. This went out for $16 combined. Next up was this really cool beer hat. It was Grains of Wrath, had a really nice patch on it. I guess it's from wherever Camas, Washington is. If anybody's from around there, let me know if I even said that right. Had a nice big patch on it, snapback. And it had this like button. I don't know if it came on the hat with it, but it says Ecliptic Brewing. This next hat took me forever to figure out what it even said on it. I think it went out for like $10. And I think Mary had to tell me it says Ruthlessness. I don't know. Can you see that in there? I'm pretty sure that's what it says, but it took forever. And it was just a newer, and this is kind of what I'm talking about when you can tell you have a newer and not vintage hat. You can tell this is just screen printed on here, and it's just a newer style hat. It's made to look retro or old, but this is just a screen printed hat, and it's just newer, and somebody printed Ruthlessness on here. And are those deer antlers maybe? Not sure. Next up was this nice Gonzaga Nike hat. Just a flex fit hat. Went out for around $14. Picked it up on our sale. Just a regular flex fit Gonzaga. Next up was this Columbia vintage hunting hat. And this is what I'm talking about. You just got to know when something is going to be worth more than like $10. This one, it was Gore-Tex. So that would be your first clue that you would want to price it up. But and it was vintage. And if somebody was going to replace their hunting hat that they had just like this, that they loved, they're going to have a hard time finding it. And when they do, you're going to have it priced up a little bit so you can get the most out of something like this. You can tell that it's vintage, mainly because it has a Made in USA tag on it. But this is just more of a vintage style of hunting hat. And it's just really nice and insulated. Good hat. Went out for 28 bucks. Next up was another nice winter hat. And if you sell much clothing, you'd probably know to price this one up as well. Not because it was Eddie Bauer. Eddie Bauer is an okay brand. But this one was actually Goose Down. And it was filled with Goose Down. And it was a smaller size, small, medium. So going out for around $30 is a pretty good price for it. If it was a little bit bigger, I probably asked a little bit more. But still, really cool Goose Down Eddie Bauer hat with a good sales price of around $27 to $28. Next up was the Florida State Seminoles. It went out for like $8. And we kind of talk about to avoid these Velcro strapbacks. They usually don't bring as much unless they're a really cool print. And this one was only $8. Next up was a vintage San Francisco Giants 1997 AL West champs. This went out for around $15. It was on this Anco tag right here. And again, it says 1987 on it. And that's how, when we start running across hats, that's how we're going to date them when we see this tag in the future. This Anco tag will give us like late 80s, early 90s time period for this. So here, I'll show it a little closer. So if you're running across hats with that tag, you can be pretty certain that it's vintage and around the time period that it came from. Really cool hat though, $15. Next up was a nice minor league baseball team. This one took a while to sell though. It went out for $15. mainly because it was a bigger size. Like I said, 7 7/8 usually sometimes takes a while to sell, but this one was in excellent condition. Went out for $15. Nice New Era fitted. Next up was this Fort Tigaronda. Went out for $7. Was basically brand new. Still had the paper insert in there. Doesn't look like it's ever been worn. Cool hat. Next up is one we say to keep a lookout for. This one went for around $22, $23 and sold fast. They will always sell fast. This is Salute to Service. Has the patch on the side. You can just tell by the green colorway, and it looks kind of military. The Salute to Service NFL hats sell quick and usually for pretty good money because there's not a bunch out there. And the new ones are really expensive. They really mark them up too. So this was a really good one. And this went out to a viewer. I didn't catch the note. Mary let me know. So we're going to be sending it out with a sticker. Always appreciate that. If you want me to shout out your name, make sure you put your YouTube name in there because I don't want to put anybody's name out here that doesn't want their name out. But if you do want your YouTube name, make sure you leave that as well. Or leave a comment and say, hey, I got the cool Miami Dolphins hat. Next up was a Raiders hat. Went out for like 10 bucks. It was 47 brand. Again, it had the Velcro strap back, so it went for a little less than you would expect. But really nice 47 brand in good condition. Next up was this Texas Rangers. And this tag, when we're dating New Era, these black tags that look like this is usually around 2007 to 2010. Sometimes I'll label them Y2K. This one's 7 1/4 Texas Rangers fitted hat. Next up was a size 7, and we know about size 7. Went out for like $12, $13. Really good condition though. Angels, size 7 fitted New Era hat. All right, next up. Somebody asked me the other day about removing signatures, and this is one that I did. Attempt to remove the signature. I don't know how well you can see it. You can still faintly see it. I worked on this hat for about 2 or 3 hours. I find that the hand sanitizer works best just because it kind of sticks better and lets you kind of scrub it in, but you can also use rubbing alcohol to try to get the signatures out. And I'm not going to read the hat off, but you can probably read that. And re-elect that person. But anyways, about the signatures, and it just really depends. If you have a Hall of Famer or the greatest NASCAR driver of all time, Dale Earnhardt, maybe I wouldn't take that signature off. If I have a Titleist hat that has Jim Furyk signature on there, I don't think that's going to add much value to that. And authenticating a signature is not easy either. And if you're going to come across as you know that it's authentic and it's real, you better know what you're talking about because it can come back to bite you as well. So it depends on the hat. Like this one was like brand new. I knew it would sell for $15 to $20 because it was just really funny and a cool hat. But I didn't know that it would with the signature that was on it. Because I think it was maybe like a local politician or something. But anyways, this one went out for 15 bucks. I got most of the signature off. I put it in the description that, hey, I've removed most of the signature. You can still slightly see it, and took up close pictures of it and still sold. Next up was a great Arc'teryx hat. Went out for $22. They got it on our sale. So they got a really good deal right here. This one was super clean. Strap back. They usually go around 30 to 40. But $22, I'll take it. Next up was Joke's on You Batman Joker hat. Snapback. Went out for $9. Just a regular. Kind of had this cool distressing look on it too. Next up was this Livestrong is kind of hit and miss. This one I thought would do pretty well because it was the only one like it out there on the market in an army cap. Livestrong. This is Lance Armstrong. Some of the Livestrong stuff can do really awesome. Some of it sits forever. This is just kind of different. So I think it went for a little bit more. And it's sold really quick. I mean, I'm talking in like a week. It's sold. I priced it for around 40. I thought I would get around 30. And my sale hit. They took the 22. All right, Mary wanted to do one more, so we'll see what she's got.
Moffettography asks, what do you think of hats given away at games? Do they hold any value?
Not usually. It's usually about a $10 hat. If you have like some older ones where they put like Hall of Fame players on, or really good players for a team on there, then they can be worth a little bit more. But just the basic ones that they hand out at the games, usually you're going to get $10 for them. Some minor league teams could be better as well if there are really not that many on the market at all. So minor league can be good, but I would say generally they're not going to be that great because the brands on those hats aren't good, and the technicality of them being officially licensed is probably debatable as well. I mean, the team actually gave them away, so you would think they were licensing that, but sometimes they don't have the licensing on there, like a New Era hat or 47 brand hat or other hats like that. So I would say probably not, unless you got a really rare one. All right, guys, let's see what's going on in this bunch. I will tell you that I'm not ready to call the 50% off sale a total failure, but I definitely turned the best offer back on today because the sales from yesterday, there weren't a lot, but there were some good ones, and especially a viewer bought 3 hats in a wonderful sale. Really appreciate that. Don't know exactly what the YouTube name was, so I didn't want to say their eBay name, but we'll get to that soon. All right, first up was this, a vintage Atlanta Falcons. Went out for $12.50, just kind of older. It was by The Game. Great vintage brand if you find the older The Game. This one did okay. I thought it would go for a little more, but I don't think it was too desirable, and it had quite a bit of wear. All right, next up was our viewer sale, which was really awesome. He spent $100 on some really awesome hats. If you want to leave down in the comments who you were, I'd be happy to shout you out later. I just didn't want to say your name on video if you didn't really want that. But these were some great hats. This first hat was a vintage Augusta, Georgia. See if I can get it out here. Old trucker hat. Home of the Masters in Georgia. Really sweet trucker hat. You don't see these very often in the trucker style and the Masters golf. Really, really nice trucker hat right there. Had the puff paint on it as well. Nice hat. And then bought a Nike bucket hat. Bucket hats always do really awesome. They sell really well and fast. This one had the older tag in it too. So. And then the crown jewel was this Sports Specialties. Had the plain logo on the side. Sports Specialties. Made in Korea. Youngin. Sports Specialties. Really nice. Plain logo hat. Really appreciate this sale. Really appreciate you guys tuning in. And as always, we got a sticker going out with it. We appreciate it. All right, next up was this TaylorMade golf hat. Went out for $7.44. It was super clean with strap back. Got a great deal on that one. Next up was this Adidas dad hat. Just a little different color than you usually see. This was a pretty cool green color. Went out for around $10. Just a regular Adidas dad strap back. Next up was this really nice Tacoma Rainiers vintage, New Era, fitted, great size, 7.5. It went out for $25. Still had a wonderful shape on it. Really good condition. It was a little yellowing on the inside, but not too bad. About what you would expect from a hat that's over 20 years old. But MILB, minor league teams, always pick them up. They can go for great money. Next up was this 511 tactical strapback hat. Went out for around $8. It was clean. Good brand. Next up was this Nike Featherlight. Went out for $12. Featherlight usually does better than the regular Nike. Really good, especially in the spring and summer for working out or running or jogging. Nice hat here. Good color. Next up was another great deal. This one went out for like $18. It was a Cincinnati Reds vintage New Era Diamond Collection, usually around a $25 hat. Deal, got a great deal on the sale. This was size 7, so I'm not too worried that it went out for that, because it is a great deal, but it was size 7. Sometimes hard to get rid of, but beautiful hat. Next up was this vintage Utah Jazz snapback. Went out for like $12. It was on the Twins Enterprise tag. It's a nice hat. It was super clean. Next up was this Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It went out for around $20. It was the Salute to Service. Always look for this colorway and make sure you put Salute to Service in your title, especially right now in November. The NFL is going really hard on Salute to Service and honoring the veterans with these hats and their gear. These always do really good. $19.44 is a good price. They got a good deal on this one. Nice hat. Next up was another Adidas dad hat. This one went out for $7.48. Just a regular black strap back Adidas dad hat. Next up was a Depop sale, and I kind of talked about putting Ferrari, Lamborghini, Porsche on other sites and not listing them on eBay, even though I'm like 99% sure this one was real. The tags were good in it. Even if I was 100% sure it was real, I doubt I would still put it on eBay. Went out for $28 on Depop. Ferrari strap back hat.